Hi, and welcome back if you happen to be watching. Like I mentioned at a few points, I'm not sure if anybody ever will, but this is my place to talk about and think out my book as I write it on circles, the myth of society. Right, I'm trying to break this down and try to write a book on sociological theory that integrates Campbellian and Jungian theory with an existentialist perspective into the world of social engagement. Turns out that writing a book on theory has been really, really fucking hard. But this week has been interesting. So, Fridays is my day to talk about how the book is going, how writing is going, and where I'm at. And really this week, I hit a point where I answered all my own comments in Word. I answered a lot of that, and I had a base draft. I say that because it's not a full draft, right? I mean, I wrote a loosely correlated set of ideas that turned out to be about 40 pages, 37. And in that, I have outlined quite a few ideas. I've got about 8 different chapters I want to get into, ranging from the basis of our universe and how order and chaos interact and set up the basis of our universe, the abstract, and how we engage with that. And so this week what I've done is I've just gone, I need to pause and I need to just spend some time editing. So I downloaded the book and I have been going through it with a Apple Pen and just crossing stuff out in red ink, editing, commenting, writing notes. And what I found is that my ideas, while I have some substantive content, are really disconnected, and I spent a lot of time flushing out my ideas to make a coherent philosophical concept. I start with this idea of order and chaos being the base concepts of our universe. There, I move into the gods of our universe. I start talking about the concepts of time and chronos and how that impacts our existence and the forces of nature. From there, I shift into human evolution and evolutionary theory and how we've developed into pack animals. And from pack animals, how we've developed through mutual suffering, which is a really important idea in this theory, right? Shared suffering seems to be what develops the pack, right? So if we share pain, we tend to come up with communal magic, communal ways of handling the existential pain of our existence and create definitions and ways of dealing with that, which is a really complex idea, right? I mean, this is where we deal with things and how we handle them. This is very personal. One thing I note in that is that, universal or mutual suffering. Mutual suffering is so dependent on environmental factors. It's so hard to relate to the pain of another group. And our pain defines us as a tribe. It's really hard to understand the pain of another, right? I mean, if you were to just show up to a group you don't understand, a group that you didn't share pain with, a group that's been oppressed that you have privilege over, and go, oh, I understand. People will hate you. You'll be disregarded. Right. I mean, if you disagree with me, try it, right? Show up in a group that has been oppressed by your group in some way, right? Whether it's your men and you're going to a women's group, or white and you're going to a group of color or whatever, and try to explain how you just get it, and you will be scoffed at. Because it's this communal pain that creates the identity. Because that pain is what creates the anxiety, as Schopenhauer discusses it, to progress and develop tools to handle it. It's the magic of the group. It's their secret. It's how they handle it. is expressed in a lot of different ways. This represented the abstract pain through artistic representations. I've been most interested by comedy. I mean, comedy is such an interesting way to portray that. If you ever notice, like, people will say, like, oh, you don't have a sense of humor. Oh, you just don't have a sense of humor. What I think people mean when they say it is that you haven't experienced the same pain as I have. You don't get it, because what comedy is at its core is it is a manifestation of pain through the abstract to a relief format that is able to abstractly represent the struggle of the tribe. And that's a really, really difficult thing to understand if you haven't been through it. Right? I have the white trash trailer park communal understanding and try to, when people go, oh, I get it, it's just not true. Or to be a part of LGBT if you've never experienced, that's really complex. And from there, that shifts into the heroes, which are individuals who have gathered specific tools to survive in that system. And they've successively found a way to succeed. And that becomes symbolic for the rest of the tribe. And they tell stories of it, because through telling the stories, they're able to transcend and pass on those symbolic tools of survival. So now we create a group identity based off of that for people who understand the shared suffering. It's hard not to think about right now. Right? I mean, we talk about the Black community experiencing extreme hardship in America. Hardship isn't even close to the correct term. I'm trying to imagine what it was like for somebody to have a knee on their neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and I can't fathom it. You know, I'm a Chiefs fan, right? I grew up in Kansas City. I love the Chiefs. Thank God we won a Super Bowl. That was a huge deal for me. I lost my shit. I would be super embarrassed if anybody heard the shit I ranted about after that. But regardless, I remember a few years ago, the season was starting, and I was living by myself. And I made ribs, and I put on my Tony Gonzalez jersey. And I was so excited. I watched game 1 of the season. And I had made those ribs, and I was eating them, and I ended up getting ribs stuck in my throat, and I was dying, right? I mean, I got one stuck in my esophagus, and I was coughing. I couldn't breathe. I was walking around my house. I was literally shoving chairs into my gut, trying to spit it out, crying like a baby, convinced I was going to die for 45 seconds. 45 seconds of just utter dismay. I was in hell. And I remember having a moment that is one of the most potent memories of my life. Well, I'm not going to survive this. Right? I'm done. I'm weeping. I finally cough it up, and I lay there and I just cried. This guy lived like that for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I can't imagine the suffering. Crying for his mother. Fuck. It's so hard to create room for the development of a theory. So if we're talking about society, we have to talk about oppressed groups, because oppressed groups exist in any society. Societies are able to thrive through the suffering of others. Right? Like Louis C.K. talked about this. Like the pyramids. Oh, the pyramids. What an amazing feat. What an amazing development of human technology and mathematics, all built on the suffering of others. Fine. So I need more time to talk about that in the book, right? I'm going to talk about how that happens, how groups are forced to suffer so that others can achieve some form of greatness. And this is a really tricky discussion in America because compared to other Western civilizations, we have held on to oppression and making other groups suffer probably more than most by disallowing access to basic social services. Regardless, I've been going through the book and I'm excited to see what happens as I start editing based off those notes. Those notes have been a lot of crossing and checking and going, you should expand on this. And really what I've been looking at is trying to, how do I quantify the concept of the order and chaos as fundamental forms of the universe if they are amoral. Right? You cannot ascribe morals to chaos because chaos isn't moral. It just is. And it's just a bad rap, right? People say, oh, chaos is bad. But chaos is also really good. Chaos is protest. Chaos is standing up to injustice. Chaos is revolution. America wouldn't exist without that. Order tends to get a good rap because it's about structure and efficiency. But order is also in this extreme, very, very oppressive. The most totalitarian governments in history are extremely orderly. That doesn't make them morally good. They've also slaughtered lots of innocent people. So order and chaos are not inherently good or evil. They just are. So that leads me at the spot of how do I describe what I would say is evil? Where does that exist? Where does that stem from? Right, this innate human factor results in war and suffering and slaughter and genocide and rape. I mean, this is brutal stuff. And what I'm leaning toward, and I'm not certain that I'm going to stick to this, but I'm going to lean toward is that this is the embodiment of the abyss, of the void, of empty. The empty abyss, the nothingness, is what feeds this. It is contrary to the dream, the realm of story, though it does use it. And so this is a really complex idea that I keep trying to come back to and circle around to in the book and try to understand. And so I guess right now I've just been meditating a lot on what that means and how to ascribe that as I write this book. And what I'm figuring out is like there's just not enough space to cover all of the complexity of this existence. So I'm trying to make definitions for all of that. I'm trying to understand the distinct. I'm trying to understand the void. I'm trying to understand the empty. I'm trying to understand the abyss. What I do know is I tend to agree with Nietzsche, which is if one stares long enough to the abyss, they must be careful because the abyss will stare back into you. And I can feel that. I can feel the empty staring into me, asking me if I'm just a monster. You know, one thing I find really interesting as I'm writing this is, if you notice in stories, villains don't necessarily try to kill the hero. Sometimes they do. And they'll accept killing the hero, kind of. But for the hero to succeed, the hero to deal with the madness of the void, they need to understand it. So to understand it, they have to enter the void themselves, the unknown. And in that moment, they're extremely vulnerable and susceptible because they're dealing with the worst parts of themselves. And this is why the true villain understands that the way to defeat the hero isn't through killing them, but through conversion. If you can show them that your way is right, you can keep them in the shadow with you. And society has to deal with this. Yet one of the things I'm interested in is as we progressed as a society, we've become better. Now, it's tricky, there's a lot of societies that are still a long ways to go, but regardless, we have become better at disallowing that level of evil, of abyss. But it still exists. And it tries to convert. You know, that's why the devil, I love the devil in Christian mythology. I find it so interesting. You know, a lot of times depicts as this pitchforked monster, but the truth is that Lucifer was the prettiest angel. It's the truth. It doesn't lie. He says all the truths you need to hear. I talked about this in the Orson Welles video about how would you know if evil shows up? Because what good evil does is it makes itself seem good. It's complicated stuff to answer. So I suppose where I'm at is I'm trying to go through it all and make edits and notations so I can create a next round of draft. You know, there's some chapters I'm looking at deleting, there's some stuff I'm looking at changing, but I want to create this. Regardless, I plan to talk about the book and how it's going on every Friday for now. If this interests you, please subscribe, please like, please make a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear some other ideas. I would love to get your input on how to write this book, how to talk about sociological theory. This stuff is extremely difficult to write on. I will make sure to comment. I'll make sure to engage. You know, I'm reviewing quite a bit of information to try to get there. I'm talking to, you know, I've got videos talking about literature, talking about mythology, talking about philosophy, trying to gain a base understanding of all this stuff. If you're interested, please check it out. Go to the channel. I got a playlist for all of it. I would love to get some more hits and information and comments on all of it. So, you know, as that, I suppose where I'm at is just my job right now is to destroy what I've written so that I can create a new draft and build it from there. All comments and insight and thoughts are welcome. Have a great week, and I will see you next Friday talking about my paper.